Yeah. So I've put in my tags, which is basically what they want. It's pretty straightforward. So every item that goes to the queue, if it succeeds in getting there, is going to be tagged with the departure airport, right? Um, because there's a lot of stuff to do, I'm not going to elaborate more than that. I think that's quite straightforward in itself. Another thing is that, um, we want to test whether this works. But I mean, CCX scenario 8, Q tags, we've put that there. Um, I don't know. I believe we're required to also check um, if the email. Let me see. I don't think that's on this page. Let's see. Maybe navigate the page. Create quote. Okay, might be later on we have to do that. So what we need to check right now is we just want to check whether what we have done works, right? And so I'm going to take a moment um, to just look over things to make sure that everything's good. Right. So, I mean, I'm going to log out of this, right? And I have to apologize. I have to run this very quickly because, I mean, there are like 50 items on that list. So I don't want to have to go through the painful process of watching it create a queue item for every one of them. But what's important is that, where's my queue? My queue is empty right now, right? So I go to control room, I look for code requests, and it says empty. There's a newborn baby's head until you start filling it with nonsense. So it's empty. That's what's important. So I'm going to press play now. And then, oops, I'm sorry. I have to reset it. So now remember, I've removed the bad file. So all we're going to have is a good file. So it's going to log in, you know, and basically work until the point where it fails. So if you look at my little screen on the right, you might notice it moving around, just adding items to the queue very quickly. But because I'm using the super fast mode, you won't see it do it 50 times. Now we'll get it done quickly. You might notice it's not going to throw an exception because I removed the bad file because we're trying to move further on in the process. So it's running. Doesn't look like it's doing much, but it's running. I noticed that if you look at the bottom of this screen where my cursor is, you'll see what it's doing. It's starting PP travel. So that tells you what it's doing. So let's go into left menu. So we might have an exception handling error here. Try and investigate what the problem is. So, I mean, first things first, if I refresh this view now, you'll see that I have 50 items in the pending list, right? So what that tells us is that, we were able to launch BP Travel, log in, and according to the main page, we were able to populate queue, right? And let me see if I can get any information from the queue. We are attempting to work the first item, as you can see, is locked. and then something went wrong, right? So we succeeded in doing this completely. Then the next thing it was supposed to do was navigate. Now, if I open the start, there's a parameter, an incoming parameter, and that means I'm going to have to look at where is this page called from, right here. Um, After you get item, this is the next thing. So you open it, you see it's asking me to go to create quotes page, right? So what that means is that it was trying to navigate to create quotes and it did not succeed. So I'm going to launch this object and try and figure out what could have gone wrong, right? Um, and so this is the business object here. Come on, baby. BP travel. So I'm just going to manually log in, save us a few minutes. So essentially, it was trying to click here and did not succeed. So I could run it from the process layer again just to see. Start from here and see whether we will succeed in clicking that. So if I hit that, oops, I shouldn't have done that. It's going to do the same thing. That's the same thing that caused the error earlier. I need to put a breakpoint. Oh my. Yeah, so I'm going to put a breakpoint there so that we can at least figure out what's going on here. So remember, we're trying to create quotes right here. And I am sort of, you know what, I better slow this down because that definitely will help. Then I'm going to hit play now. So it's going to attempt to, and then it's going to fail. So, okay, it's already tried a couple of times. That's why I failed immediately. But the bottom line is that something is wrong with this business object. Number one, it's not working. So we have to fix that. And the other thing is that we noticed that when it resumed, it tried to close down, it tried to start up, and it's supposed to do that 3 times before it throws. And that's what it was doing earlier on. Well, as far as I know, let's just look at the close down page to see whether there are any problems. Ah, there you go. There are 2 business objects here, and I actually don't know if they work. For example, let me see. Let's put a breakpoint here. If I click this, it's going to try and log out. Let's click this button over here on the left. So if this doesn't work, it means this business object also has a problem. Okay, that worked fine. Now we have to try terminate as a business object. It's here. I'm going to click it once. So now this is supposed to close the browser. It's quite slow. I'm not sure if that's normal. So that works too. Great. So, you know, what that means is that this close down page works fine. What about startup with the page? I think we already worked on that. You launch BP, you log in, we worked on that. So those 2 pages work fine. So what this does is that if this business object, left menu navigate, does not work, it's going to try, shut down, start up again, and then try to navigate 3 times before it now throws an exception. And that's what happened. So bottom line is, cut the long story short, this business object does not work and we need to work on it. I may have worked on this in the past, but I will just, for purposes of those who haven't seen how it's done, I'm going to just work on it again. Typically, there's a problem with the application model, and a lot of it is because it's set to Internet Explorer. I'm using an Edge browser and all of that stuff. So the first thing I would do is I'd open the Explorer. I would just very quickly go over it again. I would click on Microsoft right. Is it right? Yeah, right click on Microsoft Edge, get properties, pick this .exe here, the program file, the exe file, right? And then I would go to the application wizard, hit next, make sure that this is selected because I believe I did this, before I came to this class. I would select the browser that is launched from an executable file, and I paste what I just copied here, and I say next. Now the URL of my browser would be bp yeah, blueprism.com. I just do something like this. I believe that should be fine. I don't know if it's going to complain about that. I shouldn't. I say next. So basically anything Blue Prism. And what else? That's it. Then that should work. So if I say OK and I go to this page, let me make it a little bigger so we can at least see more of it. And I hit this. Let me close this. Basically testing whether it will launch. So it launches fine, mainly because I made that change. And it looks for the login button and it finds it. Now again, I've taken some steps before I started making this video so that I won't have to do everything sort of like the way I did in my first video. But I don't mind going over it again. So what I did was I sort of respied these things because none of them will work considering I've changed the object. So I would sort of identify, I click identify, say yes, and then look for a good something that covers the login screen, which is like this one. Put my finger on control and then left click, and then those are my elements. I would make sure that number one, I usually like to use the match index, and uncheck any useless ones or have nothing beside the value, right? So yeah, there we are. So if I use the highlight function now, it will see what I selected. And so I'd have to do that for each item. I did that for username, password, login, and error message. So for example, if I tried to log in and didn't put in a username and password, I would highlight that, just to make sure it works, So I already spied them. And again, I did something similar in the first video. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I think the one that needs to be done is, that needs to be looked at a little bit more closely is, I believe this, you have to do this for all of them, right? So if I were logged in, for example, then I would have, the sidebar for navigation, and essentially that's what these are for, So if I highlight now, I would have search, right? If I highlight now, I have, but I already spied them to save time. Now, I'm not sure that's a good idea, for everyone, because some people may not know how to do it effectively. But as an example, I'll just do one of them again, right? So I'd click, if I was looking for create quotes, I'd click identify. I would say come here. So I'd look around it. I'm using browser mode. It works fine. As you can see, it picks it. Then I use click control and left click, and I do the same things. I would or the match, like this web access key has nothing under value here, so I'm going to uncheck it. I'm going to make sure that I check the match index. I don't know that. I think I want to keep this create quote selected. So if I put all the matched items together, these are the things that I want. I think I put that this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items. That's what I want. You don't have to do it that way, but I prefer that. So if I select it, highlight it, it shows, meaning that it will work. And that's pretty much what I did for all the elements on the left of the screen, right? And then for the search button, I did the same thing. If I highlight it, you see it works. So you have to do that again for all of them, right? There's really no way around that. I didn't need to change anything. You will need to save your changes. The other thing is that you want to check whether the attached screen is working. And like I said, I had gone ahead of you and done this just to save some time. So there's nothing to change here. But in this attach navigation stage, you want to change this to MS Edge if you're using MS Edge like me. And then once you do that, it will work. So I'm going to test it. It's already attached. Okay. And then, so here we are. This is where we had a problem, right? From the, so if I said search quote, I'm going to sort of manually do it, right? What would happen? Because this is where, I don't know if you remember, but this is where you see left menu navigate at the process layer. This is where, well, actually just looking at the name won't tell you which object it is. So I go back to the process layer and open it, and it tells you I'm calling BP travel basic actions left menu here, right? So that's why we're on this page. So I want to try it. If I click it, start, it's going to tell you invalid input. Why? So, okay, there's nothing like search codes. Right, that was my bad. There's actually create code that there is. Apologize for that. But we're still in the process of testing, right? To see whether it works. Set next stage. I hit that. So it goes to create quotes and it clicks on that if it works, right? So it's still searching for the item and it says fails to perform steps. So these are the reasons why it failed. Now, your own model, you have to deal with these issues. After you have spied everything in your application modeler again and made sure it works, right? I had some problem spying the navigation menu. Let me just make it big. And this is what I spied the web element, and these are the things that I don't even need this web access key. These are the things that I spied, I felt were important. And so, so if I hit highlight now, it can see the menu quite well, right? So no problems there. But once you've done the spying, you have to come back here and check each wait stage and make sure that there are certain things in place. Like what we're looking for now is parent document. Make sure that it's there, right? Same thing, open the search one. The link search, which is this one, check if it exists. If it's true, then, move on and try and click search. If it's not true, throw an exception that essentially says I couldn't find the search link, right? So you have to check each wait stage and make sure it's connected. Same thing, this one, link create quote. If it's true, then go ahead and click this link that we spied earlier. So you might notice that up here I have 5 errors. So I'm going to click on the first one, go to stage. So what was this? Click create code. The chosen action in row 1 is not permitted for the corresponding element type. So as you can see, there's no action selected here, right? So I just need to put a click here, and that should deal with the issue. And basically finish up the job for these. Check this one exists. If it exists, right? Right now I'm looking at view code. I'm going to open it again. The logic is that check if this view code link exists. If it's true, then move on to this navigate stage and click view code. If I open that, same problem, no action. That would happen when you change like your application model, which we did a little earlier. Again, I apologize for not doing it like step by step the way I did it the last time, but I think you can just refer to video 1 if you want to remember how I did it, how I spied the elements, the browser elements. So link is what we're looking for. We're looking for view booking link. If you see it, if you're able to find it, then go ahead and click view booking. Again, I'll need to add a click item here. Same thing for logout. Look for the logout link. If you find it, go ahead and click logout. And this one has a click in it already, so great, it works fine. So those are the things you might need to do to fix this model. So if I open the errors now and say check again, what do we got? We have 1 left, and I'm going to go to the stage. All right, so let's figure out. The problem now is on the log terminate page. So calling another page is really not allowed in business objects. But anyway, this is just training. But anyway, I'm going to just walk through this page. I didn't make this. This is what came in the advanced consolidation exercise. So it's going to try to attach, which it's already attached. And then it's going to call logout, which we just made sure works. It's going to log out. Great. And then it's going to terminate. So I'm not sure why that didn't work, because it worked fine here, but it says there's an error here. Am I mistaken? 1 error. So go to stage. Yeah, that's where the error is. So we have to figure out what is the problem. Parent document is not true. Linked logout. So really, I don't know that check exists would be a bad thing to use here. Let me check. So it's not. I'm going to just very quickly log in again and then make sure it works before we prepare for the next step. All right. So we're here now, and I'm going to try again. Set next stage. Let's play. This time it needs to be attached. Which works fine once you change that to MS Edge. And then it's going to log out. So yeah, we have our 0 errors, and we've basically remodeled this particular basic actions completely. We don't have any problems. It's not as easy as I have made it look here, because you essentially have to do the respy this model. But like I said, if you need tips, check the study tips 1 to go about it, right? So I'm going to save my work. I think one thing I need to mention before I go is that, in the real world, this is what your typical page will look like. 1 action in it, zero logic, it's not going to look very much like, this, which is a lot of complicated logic. Um, I find that in practice, the objects work better if you just have one single item, the wait stage, one single action, and move on to the next page. So you have many small pages with single action items rather than these more complicated type pages. For example, this would be unacceptable in a real development project that you should be calling logic like this at the business object layer. No. If you want to use logic, go to the process layer. Keep it simple here. So I just thought I should mention that. So I'm going to close that. Go back to the process layer. Remove my breakpoints. Don't think I have cause to. Did I put one at terminate? I don't know. Close down. Yeah, put one here. So, I think I'm going to unlock the subject. I'm going to delete this, and we're going to sort of do that again. Select all. That's the first thing I did. Are you going to allow me to do this? Blue Prism has some peculiarities. Even though I deleted that one with the exception, it's still, what I'm trying to do is mark all the others as exception, and then I want to sort of do the process again, if you don't mind, just humor me. So I'm going to attempt to run it again, and this time I'm going to put a few breakpoints. So I'll put one here so that we'll know when it's done adding the items to queue, and then I'll put another one here so we know if it succeeded in clicking search quotes, right, after launching the application. All right, so reset your baby, and Speedy Gonzalez starts work. Oh, I'm not sure what just happened though. Geez, I'm not even paying attention. So it says completed. Let me look at my queue. Oh, right. So I apologize. I'm so sorry. I had, what this thing does is that it takes the file and puts it, it puts it inside the archive folder after it does the first time. So this is really my mistake. I'm going to delete the old one. We're essentially running the robot again just to make sure everything works fine. So apologize again, press play. Don't know, wait a minute. So make sure I refresh and then I'll start again. So now it's going to run. Right, so you might not believe it, it's already done. It's already added 50 rows. I'm going to refresh this. So all the cases are there, but it hasn't done anything. So if I press play now, it's going to go to this page and try and navigate to create quotes. So let's see whether we succeeded in fixing that. So it has navigated there very quickly. This is the create quote page. And I think this is a great place to end this video because we basically have to spy an application model for dealing with this page and adding some more logic and functionalities into the process layer in our next video. So the next video will basically be, if I try to run this page now, it's not going to work because this create quote object has not been configured. I'm gonna, oh, that's fine. Unlock all business objects. Yeah, it's not going to work. It's going to fail. So we're going to have to configure this application modeler and do a number of things. You see, it's still configured to Internet Explorer. These things probably don't work. So that's for our next video. So I think it's a great place to stop. Oops, great place to stop. And I would say it worked up to this point, and I hope you are able to learn a few things today. The next video is going to be more engaging as far as because this is like the core of everything, right? How do you create codes and all of that? So I'll I'll, I'll put more detail about this particular page in a single video, just to make the whole process, break it down into little pieces for us to learn together. All right, thanks for watching, and I apologize. I was a little scatterbrained today, but I hope I was able to get the point across. Thank you, and have a nice evening.